Hey there, and welcome to another deep dive. We're tackling a topic that's crucial to understanding the Navy's power, the strategic advantage of the Navy Reserve. We'll be breaking down a document by the Chief of Navy Reserve herself, Vice Admiral Nancy S. LaCour. Navy Reserve, Strategic Advantage.
It's a fascinating read,
Yeah.
because it really flips the script on how we usually think about the reserve. It's not just a backup force sitting on the sidelines.
Exactly. It's more like having a specialized weapon ready to go at a moment's notice. A weapons system, as the document puts it. And get this, we're talking about a force that can be deployed globally within 30 days.
30 days might sound like a long time, but in the military world, that's lightning fast. Think about a sudden crisis erupting on the other side of the world. The Navy Reserve is structured to be there, boots on the ground, within a month. That speed's a game changer.
Okay, let's unpack this weapons system idea a bit more. Admiral LaCour talks about putting more ready players on the field. And that's about way more than just numbers. She's talking about specialized skills that reservists bring to the table. Cyber warfare, medicine, intelligence, things the Navy needs to operate effectively.
And here's where it gets really interesting for me. She emphasizes that the Reserve is designed to be a learning organization. They're constantly evaluating their structure, their training, all to stay ahead of the curve. It's like they're built to adapt to whatever the world throws at them.
That's crucial in today's world, where threats are constantly changing and technology is advancing at an incredible pace. This makes me wonder, how do they actually achieve and maintain this level of readiness?
Well, the document points to a target of 80% warfighting readiness across the entire force. That means ensuring sailors, units, and all the support systems are primed and ready to go. It's an incredibly complex task, but it highlights their commitment to being ready for anything.
So it's not just about having a bunch of people on standby. It's about having a highly trained, integrated force that can seamlessly work alongside active duty personnel.
Precisely. It's all about the Navy total force concept. Active duty and reserve working together as a single unit. This integration is really key to the reserve's strategic advantage.
You know, it's inspiring to see that the document doesn't just focus on the technical aspects. It emphasizes the importance of strong leadership and individual sailor development within the reserve. It talks about creating a culture of excellence where sailors can thrive.
That's a really important point. It's about fostering a culture that supports sailors and their families, even while they juggle their civilian careers. Remember, these are people making sacrifices to serve our country, and that dedication deserves support.
Absolutely. The document even highlights the need to streamline processes and reduce administrative burdens. They're trying to make reserve participation more accessible and appealing.
Now, this raises a key question for me, and maybe for you listening too. Why does all of this matter? Why should we care about the readiness of the Navy Reserve?
That's a great question, and one we should all consider. I think it's easy to take our national security for granted, but this deep dive really brings it home.
It does. The strength and readiness of the Navy Reserve directly impacts our national security and our ability to respond to global events. It affects how we deter aggression and protect our interests around the world.
And it's not just about military might. The document highlights the Reserve's contribution to humanitarian missions, disaster relief efforts, things that benefit people all over the globe. That really underscores the Reserve's importance, not just for America, but for the world.
And I think that's a key takeaway here. The Navy Reserve isn't some isolated entity. It's a vital thread in the fabric of our nation's security and global influence. It's a force for good in the world, and this document sheds light on just how critical that role is.
We've covered a lot of ground here, but I feel like we've only just scratched the surface. We've talked about the Reserve's unique capabilities, the emphasis on continuous learning, the vital role of leadership and sailor development, and its impact on our security.
And the next part of our deep dive, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of those specific priorities outlined in the document. We'll be looking at how the Navy Reserve is preparing for the future of warfare, the technologies they are adapting to, and how they are meeting the ever-changing demands of the global landscape.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. In Part 1, we talked about the Navy Reserve as this incredible force multiplier for the Navy, ready to deploy incredibly quickly, with specialized capabilities.
And now we're going to dive even deeper into the nuts and bolts of how this weapons system, as Admiral LaCour calls it, is being primed for maximum effectiveness. We're talking about those specific priorities and strategic initiatives she outlines in her document.
It's like taking a look under the hood, seeing how all the parts work together to make this machine run. So the document lays out three main initiatives: posture for warfighting, strengthen our warfighters, and accelerate refining the foundation. Let's start with that first one. Posture for warfighting. What does that even mean in practical terms?
It's about being ready to fight and win from day one of any conflict. It's not just about reacting to a situation, it's about anticipating threats and being prepared to respond immediately and decisively.
So it's not just about getting there, it's about hitting the ground running, fully prepared to engage. That 30-day mobilization timeframe we talked about earlier really comes into play here, right?
Absolutely. That rapid deployment capability underscores the urgency of maintaining a high level of readiness. It requires constant training, coordination, and logistical preparation to ensure that the entire force can be activated and deployed effectively.
And it's not just deploying individuals, right? It's about entire units being ready to go as a cohesive force.
You got it. The document calls these units readiness units of action. Think of them as self-contained modules, fully trained and equipped to integrate seamlessly with active duty operations, almost like plugging in a specialized tool where it's needed.
Okay, so I'm picturing, for example, a cyber warfare unit from the reserve being deployed to counter a major attack on critical infrastructure. They would be able to slot right into the operation, bringing their unique skills and experience to the fight.
Exactly. It's about having that flexibility and adaptability to respond to a wide range of scenarios anywhere in the world.
The document also mentions the crucial role of things like Navy Reserve activities and Navy mobilization processing sites. What are those? And how do they contribute to this level of readiness?
Those are the unsung heroes, you could say. They provide the infrastructure and the systems that allow the reserve to activate, process, equip, and deploy reservists quickly and efficiently. It's like the logistics backbone of the whole operation.
So they're essential for making that 30-day mobilization a reality. Without them, it would be chaos.
You could say that. They keep the whole machine running smoothly.
Okay, so we've covered posture for warfighting, which is all about being prepared for any conflict from the get-go. Let's move on to strengthen our warfighters. This one seems pretty self-explanatory, but what's the nuance
It's
here?
about investing in the individual sailors who make up the reserve force, giving them the tools, the training, and the support they need to be the best they can be. The document emphasizes leadership development, mentorship, and creating a supportive environment where reservists are encouraged to grow and excel.
So it's about recognizing that investing in each sailor's individual growth ultimately strengthens the entire force. It seems like they're trying to create a culture of excellence.
Precisely. And it's not always easy. The document acknowledges the challenges reservists face in balancing their civilian careers with their military obligations.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. It must be tough to juggle a civilian job, family life, and all the demands of being in the reserve.
It is. And that's why the Navy is working to make participation easier. By streamlining processes and reducing administrative burdens, they want to make serving in the reserve as manageable as possible.
Makes sense. All right, we've covered posture for warfighting and strengthen our warfighters. Let's tackle the last initiative, accelerate refining the foundation. This one sounds a bit more abstract. What's the gist here?
It's about ensuring that the reserve force has the right organizational structure, the right systems for managing talent, and the right training programs in place to meet the evolving needs of the Navy. It's about building a strong and adaptable foundation for the future.
So it's kind of like future-proofing the reserve, making sure it can handle whatever challenges come its way down the line.
Exactly. It's about being proactive and anticipating future needs, rather than reacting to them after the fact. The document specifically mentions that the reserve needs to be a learning organization.
What does that mean in this context? Like they're all going back to school?
Not exactly. It's about fostering a culture of continuous improvement, where the reserve is constantly evaluating its own performance, learning from mistakes, and adapting to new information and challenges.
So it's about being flexible and responsive to change. That makes a lot of sense, given how rapidly the world is evolving.
Right. And part of that involves improving the continuum of service between active duty and reserve components, making it easier for sailors to move between the two.
That sounds like a smart move. And I'm really starting to appreciate the level of thought and planning that goes into making the reserve such a vital force. This deep dive has given me a whole new perspective on the Navy Reserve. It's not just a backup force. It's a vital part of our national defense. It's playing a critical role in protecting our interests, deterring aggression, and making the world a safer place.
It's a force that's constantly evolving and improving, driven by the talent and dedication of its sailors.
So what does all of this mean for you, the listener, even if you're not in the military? The strength and readiness of the Navy Reserve affects all of us. It impacts our nation's ability to project power, protect our interests, and ensure global security.
The Navy Reserve is a critical element of our national defense, and its success relies on the support and understanding of the American people.
We've only scratched the surface of this topic, but I hope this deep dive has given you a new appreciation for the Navy Reserve, its contributions to our security, and the amazing people who serve within its ranks.
As we wrap up, I want to leave you with something to think about. How does the Reserve Force's dedication to continuous learning and adaptation help them stay effective in a world that's changing so rapidly? That's something worth pondering.
We hope you're leaving with some new insights and a renewed sense of excitement for all the amazing things the Navy Reserve has to offer. Remember, stay curious, stay engaged, and stay in formation.